What if the greatest threat to your longevity isn't age, but the quiet habits you've normalized for years? What if your body didn't wear out, but instead responded to daily choices that slowly drained its strength and resilience? And what if avoiding premature decline had nothing to do with expensive treatments, but everything to do with how you eat, move, breathe, and connect? In America today, more and more people are living longer, but not necessarily better. Life expectancy has stalled, and for some, it's even declining. Seniors over 60 often face creeping fatigue, muscle weakness, brain fog, and emotional isolation, and most chalk it up to just getting old. But the truth is more complex and more hopeful. This video reveals the top 5 reasons people don't make it past 80, not due to sudden illness, but due to daily patterns that chip away at health over time. From chronic low-level inflammation to poor posture, from mental stagnation to social disconnection, these forces often go unnoticed until they rob you of your strength, balance, cognition, and independence. But here's the empowering truth. Each of these hidden threats can be identified, understood, and reversed. In this video, you'll learn how silent inflammation affects your joints, heart, and brain, and how to calm the fire naturally. Why posture collapse is the real reason many people fall, and how you can fix it in minutes a day. How isolation acts like a slow poison, and how to rebuild deep, meaningful connections. The truth about brain fog and memory loss, and how to reactivate your mind at any age. Why losing purpose is the most underestimated killer, and how to reignite it no matter your stage in life. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness and reclaiming your power to age with clarity, strength, and purpose. If you're over 60 and want to take control of your future, this video is your wake-up call. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who deserves to live a longer, fuller life. Senior Health Source is here to bring you science-backed insights that inspire real change, because aging well isn't luck. It's a choice, and it starts today. But let's begin with what may be the most underestimated and dangerous force of early decline: chronic inflammation. Often called the fire within, it's not loud or obvious like a broken bone or heart attack. Instead, it simmers quietly, invisibly torching the systems that keep you alive and thriving. Your joints, your arteries, your brain, even your immune defenses. And the scariest part? You might be feeling its effects right now and chalking them up to just getting older. Have you ever woken up feeling unusually stiff or achy, even though you didn't overexert yourself the day before? Does your mind feel a little slower than it used to? Names harder to recall? Focus harder to sustain? Maybe your energy runs out halfway through the day, even with plenty of rest? These are not just aging. These are red flags, early signs that your body is inflamed and under siege. So what's causing it? The answer isn't in your genes. It's in your daily habits. The modern lifestyle is a breeding ground for inflammation. A diet full of ultra-processed foods, industrial seed oils, and hidden sugars keeps the immune system on high alert. Studies from Harvard and the Cleveland Clinic show that foods high in refined carbohydrates and trans fats trigger the body's defense system, creating low-grade inflammation that lingers for days, weeks, or even years. Over time, this not only weakens your muscles and joints, but also stiffens your arteries, accelerates memory decline, and increases your risk for conditions like arthritis, dementia, and cardiovascular disease. Then there's stress, a quiet accelerant. Chronic stress causes cortisol, your main stress hormone, to stay elevated. And when cortisol stays high, it messes with everything: your digestion, your mood, your blood sugar, even your ability to heal. Cortisol is like gasoline to the inflammatory fire. Long-term stress literally tells your body, stay in fight or flight mode, and your immune system obeys, even when there's no threat. Add in poor sleep and inactivity, and you've got the perfect storm. During deep sleep, specifically slow-wave sleep, your brain flushes out inflammatory toxins. But when sleep is light, broken, or too short, the debris piles up. That foggy feeling in the morning? It's not just lack of caffeine, it's neuroinflammation. And when your body doesn't move, your circulation slows, your lymphatic system stagnates, and your joints become stiff. According to research from Johns Hopkins University, even a 10-minute daily walk can reduce inflammatory markers. Yet many older adults spend hours sitting, letting inflammation build up like rust on an unused machine. But here's the good news. You can cool the fire. and it doesn't require a prescription. Start with food. Choose whole, anti-inflammatory meals: wild salmon, leafy greens, turmeric, ginger, berries, olive oil, and avocado. These foods don't just nourish you, they signal your immune system to stand down, to stop fighting shadows. Replace processed snacks with nuts and seeds. Trade soda for green tea or lemon water. Manage stress with intention. Just 5 minutes of deep breathing, meditation, or gentle stretching can lower cortisol and restore balance. You don't need a retreat, you need consistency. Sleep like your life depends on it, because it does. Dim the lights an hour before bed, avoid screens, eat earlier, and aim for 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted rest. Give your brain the downtime it needs to detox and reset. Finally, move. Not for six-pack abs, but for your immune system. Movement is medicine. Whether it's gardening, dancing, tai chi, or walking the dog, motion keeps inflammation in check. So next time you hear yourself say, "I'm just getting older," pause and ask, is it really age or is it inflammation? Because once you understand this hidden fire, you can stop it. And by cooling that internal flame, you're not just adding years to your life, you're adding life to your years. Now let's talk about something few people ever suspect, until it's too late: postural collapse. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a single event like a heart attack or a fall. Instead, it's a slow descent, a silent shrinking of your physical presence that begins with one small habit: sitting too much, moving too little, and breathing too shallow. You've probably seen it before. Someone who once stood tall now hunched forward, shoulders slumped, head jutting out, barely lifting their feet as they walk. Their steps become shorter, less confident. What used to be a walk across the room becomes a shuffle. A slight imbalance becomes a fall, and in many cases, a fall becomes the beginning of permanent disability. This is not inevitable aging. This is the body adapting to neglect. Years of sitting at desks, lounging in recliners, and using smartphones with heads down pull the body forward and inward. The chest tightens, the thoracic spine rounds, the hip flexors shorten, the glutes forget how to fire. And as this becomes your daily posture, it turns into your default structure. But it's not just your spine that suffers. When posture collapses, your entire internal system pays the price. Your ribcage compresses, restricting the lungs and reducing oxygen intake. Your digestion slows because abdominal organs are crowded and cramped. Circulation becomes inefficient. You feel more tired, not because of age, but because your organs are literally squeezed and struggling to do their job. According to a study published in the Journal of Physical Therapy Science, poor posture is strongly associated with reduced balance and mobility in older adults, and with that comes an increased risk of falls and fractures. Another study from the Gerontology Journal linked forward head posture with cognitive decline, showing that your brain health is directly impacted by how you hold your body. So, here's the question: if posture can quietly steal strength, breath, and stability, can it be reversed? The answer is a powerful yes. Posture is a habit, not a sentence. Even after years of decline, posture can be rebuilt with mindful awareness, breath work, and simple movement. The muscles that support upright alignment, the glutes, the core, the upper back, don't die. They fall asleep from disuse. Your job is to wake them up. Start with the breath. Most people over 60 breathe like they're in survival mode, quick, shallow chest breaths. But deep, full breathing that expands the ribs and belly can start to lift your posture naturally. Why? Because good posture is required for full breath, and vice versa. When you breathe deeply, your spine wants to follow and rise. Next, add small but deliberate movements. You don't need a gym or heavy weights. You need consistency. Try wall angels to open up the shoulders. Do glute bridges to reawaken your posterior chain. Practice chin tucks to realign your head over your shoulders. Even standing tall against a wall for 60 seconds a day can begin to reprogram your nervous system to remember what upright feels like. And the more upright you become, the more stable you feel. The more stable you feel, the more confident you move. Posture is not just about looking good, it's about staying independent. It's about walking without fear of falling, about having the lung capacity to climb stairs, the circulation to stay energized, and the physical presence to feel grounded in your body again. So no, you don't need to accept that stoop. You don't need to shrink into old age. You can rise again, one breath, one stretch, one alignment cue at a time. Because when you rebuild your posture, you're not just rebuilding your body, you're rebuilding your confidence, your mobility, and your freedom. And that's a kind of strength that no number can measure, but you'll feel it in every step. But there's another invisible force quietly cutting years off people's lives, and it doesn't show up on a lab report. It doesn't scream like a broken bone or burn like inflammation. It simply whispers, isolation. It often begins innocently enough. Maybe you retire, maybe you lose a spouse, maybe your kids get busy with lives of their own. You stop reaching out, cancel that dinner, turn down the invite. You tell yourself you're just tired or want some quiet. But slowly, subtly, your world starts to shrink. You go from being surrounded to being alone. And not just alone in your home, but alone in your experience. Even if you're still living with family or surrounded by neighbors, the emotional connection fades. No one asks how you're really doing. Conversations become small talk. You feel unseen, unheard, you feel invisible. And here's what most people don't realize. Emotional loneliness isn't just sad, it's deadly. According to the National Institute on Aging, social isolation increases the risk of premature death by up to 30%, rivaling risk factors like smoking, obesity, and high blood pressure. It raises cortisol, the stress hormone that wreaks havoc on your heart, your metabolism, and your immune system. It triggers low-grade inflammation, shrinks the hippocampus, the memory center of the brain, and leads directly to depression, cognitive decline, and frailty. In other words, being lonely literally changes your biology. Your nervous system was never meant to operate in a vacuum. From birth to your final years, you are hardwired for connection. Touch, conversation, laughter, storytelling, these are not luxuries of youth. They're basic human needs that don't retire when you do. You don't stop needing friendship at 60, 70, or 80. In fact, you need it even more. One landmark study from Harvard University, which followed participants for over 80 years, found that the strongest predictor of long, healthy lives wasn't diet, income, or even genetics. It was the quality of their close relationships. Not how many people they knew, but how deeply they felt known. That means it's not about being popular or having a house full of people. It's about having someone who listens, someone who checks in, someone who reflects your presence back to you and says, you matter. So what's the solution? Connection must become your new medicine. Start small. Call an old friend, join a walking group, attend a local class, volunteer at a community center, invite a neighbor for tea. These aren't just social activities, they are interventions. Every shared laugh, every meaningful conversation, every honest moment becomes a dose of vitality for your heart, mind, and immune system. And if reaching out feels awkward at first, that's okay. That means you're stretching, growing. Your social muscles may be stiff from disuse, but they haven't disappeared. With practice, they'll come back stronger than ever. Because here's the truth. You are never meant to age alone. And it's not too late to rebuild your circle, reignite your purpose, and restore that essential sense of belonging. So don't wait for someone else to call. Be the one who reaches out. Be the one who says, I still have stories to tell, and I want someone to hear them. Because when you do, something amazing happens, not just emotionally, but biologically. Your heart steadies, your stress drops, your sleep deepens, your immune system rallies, and your life, quite literally, gets longer. Connection isn't just a comfort, it's a survival strategy. And it starts with one simple decision: to let yourself be seen again. But staying socially connected is only part of the equation. Just as muscles weaken from disuse, so does the mind. And perhaps one of the most underestimated dangers of aging is cognitive stagnation, the silent slide into mental autopilot. You know the feeling. Days start to blur together. You eat the same meals, read the same headlines, watch the same shows, talk to the same 3 people. Your conversations become routine. You don't remember where you put your keys or what day it is. You chalk it up to getting older. But here's the truth. Your brain isn't tired. It's under-challenged. Neuroscience tells us that the brain is plastic, not the kind you toss in a recycling bin, but neuroplastic. That means it's constantly rewiring, adapting, and growing in response to challenge. But if you stop feeding it novelty, complexity, and purpose, it stops growing. In one 2013 study published in Psychological Science, seniors who learned a new skill, like digital photography or quilting, showed significant improvements in memory and processing speed after just a few weeks. Not because of medication, not because of brain games, but because they stretch themselves. That's the magic. New effort equals new growth. Unfortunately, many older adults settle into maintenance mode. They retire not just from work, but from learning. They default to what's familiar. But the brain thrives on discomfort. It needs to be puzzled, stretched, even a little frustrated to stay sharp. This doesn't mean enrolling in a university or solving calculus problems, unless that's your thing. It could be as simple as brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Yes, really. That one small change lights up new pathways in your brain by forcing coordination and attention. Or, try learning a song on a new instrument, writing with your left hand, or memorizing short poems. Want something more immersive? Take a class in something totally foreign, like philosophy, a new language, or even coding. The goal isn't to become an expert, it's to activate dormant regions of your brain. Just like lifting weights builds muscle, wrestling with unfamiliar ideas builds cognitive resilience. And don't underestimate the power of discussion. Having a real conversation, a passionate, curious debate where you don't just nod, but challenge and rethink, stimulates more brain activity than passive consumption. So instead of scrolling, scroll less and speak more. Ask big questions, wrestle with uncertainty, because predictability is the enemy of growth. When life becomes too smooth, too repetitive, the brain goes quiet. It stops sending out feelers, it starts pruning connections. And that's when fog sets in, not all at once, but gradually. You lose your sharpness, not because of age, but because you stopped giving your mind a reason to stay sharp. Here's the great news. The brain will respond the moment you give it something to chew on. It doesn't matter if you're 55 or 95, neuroplasticity never retires. In fact, a 2019 meta-analysis found that seniors engaged in regular cognitive challenges had a 26% reduced risk of dementia. That's massive. And it didn't require expensive programs, just consistent mental engagement, puzzles, reading, writing, memory games, learning new skills. So the message is clear. Don't let your mind retire just because your job did. Ask more questions, try new things, learn for the sake of learning. Let your curiosity lead you into unknown territory. Even if it feels awkward or slow at first, that's a sign you're growing. Because the most dangerous habit after 60 isn't forgetfulness, it's familiarity. Break the routine, disrupt the pattern, pick up the mental weights. Your brain is ready, you just have to show up. And now we come to perhaps the most invisible yet most powerful force behind decline: the loss of purpose. It doesn't happen overnight. There's no alarm, no sudden collapse. Instead, it's a quiet drift, a slow stepping back from life. Not because of physical illness, but because the why starts fading. For many seniors, retirement feels like a well-earned reward. And in many ways, it is. No more commutes, no more meetings. The clock stops dictating your day. But for too many, retirement isn't just from a job. It's a retirement from engagement, from responsibility, from identity. At first, it feels like peace. But soon, that peace turns into stillness. That stillness morphs into boredom, which eventually settles into something much heavier: apathy. This isn't philosophical fluff, it's biological reality. When the brain and body no longer sense a need to perform, systems begin to downshift. Digestion slows, hormones decline, muscles waste, immunity weakens, sleep becomes shallow. Why? Because the internal message being sent is, we're done. Dr. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, once said, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." That truth echoes especially loud in the later chapters of life. Scientific research backs it up. A 2014 study published in The Lancet found that seniors with a strong sense of purpose had a 23% lower risk of death from all causes. Other studies have linked purpose to lower inflammation, improved cardiovascular health, and reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease. Not to mention the positive effects on mood, energy, and resilience. And the beautiful part? Purpose doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. Maybe it's planting a garden and watching something grow. Maybe it's caring for a grandchild, volunteering at a library, teaching someone younger how to fix something, writing your life story, or walking your dog every morning and waving at your neighbors. Purpose isn't about being busy, it's about being needed. It's about waking up and knowing your presence matters to someone or something outside yourself. The tragedy is that many older adults believe they've already given enough. They think the season of contribution has passed, but that mindset is what speeds up decline. Because when you stop reaching, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, your biology takes the hint. But it's not too late to choose differently. In fact, it's never been more important. Even something as simple as mentoring a young person, sharing your stories, your failures, your wisdom, can reignite meaning. A study in the Journal of Gerontology showed that seniors who engaged in intergenerational mentorship had better mental health, more optimism, and improved physical outcomes. The lesson is clear. You don't need to be a CEO to have purpose. You just need to matter. So if you've been drifting, if the days have started blending into each other, if you've wondered lately what the point is, know this. Your next chapter hasn't been written yet. You're not here by accident. There's still someone who needs your voice, your humor, your courage. There's still something for you to lead, to protect, to nurture. The body listens to purpose. And when you reignite it, everything changes. Your posture, your energy, your healing, even your voice. You don't just survive. You come alive again. Because purpose isn't just a nice idea. It's your biological engine, and it's ready to run, if you're ready to choose. And so, as we reflect on these 5 silent forces, chronic inflammation, postural collapse, isolation, cognitive stagnation, and loss of purpose, it becomes clear. The true danger isn't the number on your birthday cake. It's what gets ignored in between the candles. It's the unspoken habits, the subtle surrenders, the quiet choices made day after day without question. But the beauty of this truth is that it puts power back in your hands. Because if these patterns are what steal life away, then interrupting them, even in small, consistent ways, can bring it roaring back. A 10-minute walk, a heartfelt phone call, a new skill learned, a deep breath taken with intention. These aren't grand gestures, they're lifelines. And each one is a vote for longevity. So here's the final message. Aging doesn't kill, neglect does. But with awareness, intention, and small daily choices, it's possible to reclaim strength, clarity, connection, and purpose well beyond 80. You're not too old, and it's not too late. Not if you're willing to rise, to fight, to live with presence instead of passivity. If this video sparked something in you, a memory, a goal, a decision to move differently tomorrow, then don't keep it to yourself. Like this video to support the mission, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Senior Health Source for more tools, stories, and strategies to help you not just add years to your life, but life to your years.